instead of cooking with butter and canola oil or some of the other oils that Americans were normally using. Thanks for tuning into Plant-Based Lindsay, and today I want to talk to you about something that is really confusing for a lot of people but also really important for everyone to understand, and that is the fact that oils, especially cooking oils, are not health foods. Okay, over the last few years it's become very confusing for a lot of people. Mediterranean diet says that olive oil is heart healthy. Now there's also a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon of saying coconut oil is good for you and we should be eating a lot of that too. So where did these ideas come from and why are they incorrect? Well, first of all, there was a big study on the Mediterranean diet, and so researchers looked at the fact that the people living in this Mediterranean area had lower rates of coronary heart disease and also certain types of cancers. And they looked at their diet, and what came out of that research was the fact that, oh, these people are eating a lot of olive oil as opposed to the different types of oils and fats that Americans are eating. So that must mean that if we dump olive oil onto our foods, it's going to make them heart healthy instead of cooking with butter and canola oil or some of the other oils that Americans were normally using. But what was lost in that translation was the fact that the Mediterranean diet was protective against coronary artery disease and certain types of cancers, not just because of the fact that they use olive oil, but they're also following a whole foods, largely plant-based diet at the time. There was lots of whole grains, lots of lentils and legumes, nuts, seeds, and there was a lesser amount of the animal products, dairy, butter, lard, things of that nature compared to the American diet. And that's what was actually giving the protection for the heart disease and the certain types of cancers, not just the olive oil. So what does that mean? It means that taking olive oil and dumping it all over your food while you're cooking doesn't automatically make it heart healthy. In fact, it can be quite the opposite. Any oil in your diet is going to have an effect on something called endothelial cell function. These are the cells that line your arteries. Arterial function is very important for blood flow. Okay, you want to have really healthy endothelial cells that are able to open up your arteries and get lots of blood rushing through. And when you eat a high oil, high fat diet, it actually restricts your endothelial cell function, and that's bad. And that's going to happen when you're eating a really fatty meal, whether it's got butter or whether it's probably coated in olive oil instead. Another oil we hear a lot about being healthy these days is coconut oil. Everybody's saying, slather that on your food, throw it in your coffee, do your stir fries with it because it has a high smoke point. But same thing, it also affects our endothelial cell function the same way that an olive oil would. And there's really nothing that's very healthy about it. I have a couple things that I brought here to show you. And the first one is salt and sugar. And what we all need to understand is cooking oils really have a lot in common with these two things. They're both highly processed foods with very little or no nutritional value. We need to think of our cooking oils as being the same thing. Now, a coconut, it's got fiber, it's got plant sterols, it's got vitamins and minerals and tons of nutrients in it. And I think coconut's probably a very healthy food. But the overly processed, refined oil that we get from coconuts is not the same thing as eating a coconut. Same with cooking oil. This happens to be canola oil, talking a lot about olive oil, which I don't even have in my house. But if you were gonna eat 1 tablespoon of olive oil, it's gonna have about 120 calories. In order to get that amount of calories from olives, you'd have to eat about 20 olives. And those olives are gonna have phytonutrients, fiber, plant sterols, all of the other healthy things that our body needs. Same with when you look at, sugar, beet sugar. It's a highly refined, highly processed ingredient that comes out of beets, which is a very healthy food, but once you take the beets out of it and you just extract the sugar, now it's something that's actually not very healthy for your body. Same goes with oils. So we need to start thinking of oils as the highly processed, extractions from the fat family. Now, I'm not saying that all fat in your diet is bad. If you're eating something like an avocado, or you're eating a handful of nuts, or you're tossing that on top of your salads, those can be a very healthy addition to your diet. You're not actually going to absorb every ounce of fat in those foods because some of it's going to be bound to plant sterols and fiber as it goes through your digestive tract, and actually some of it's going to come out the other side. That's not true with oil. You're going to absorb every little ounce of that oil, and you're going to absorb it very quickly. Whereas with the avocado or the nuts, you're going to absorb it slowly over a few hours and use it for energy rather than just storing it as extra fat on your body the way that you probably will with the oils. There was an analysis done of Greek women, and they looked at the fat on their bodies and they actually analyzed it. And when they looked at where that fat had come from, 53% of the body fat of Greek women came from olive oil. They were able to see that it was olive oil literally sticking to their body. So just because it's a heart healthy oil doesn't mean it's not going to stick in all the places that you don't want it to. That's one of the reasons why, again, you want to choose those whole food fat sources rather than just a liquid, highly processed, refined oil. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but I need oil because when I make my stir fries, or when I roast my vegetables in the oven, or when I bake muffins, what else am I going to use instead? Well, that's a pretty easy fix, because when it comes to stir frying veggies on the stove, you don't need to cover them in oil in order to make them taste delicious or to get them cooked. You can throw some water in there, or you can throw some vegetable stock in there, and you can water fry or steam your vegetables right on the stove. You can do the same thing with a little bit of cooking wine or sherry. When it comes to roasting your vegetables in the oven, you can do what's called a dry roast. So chop up your veggies, cover them with your seasonings, toss them right into the oven on some parchment paper. They're not going to stick. They're still going to get crispy and cooked on the outside, and they're not going to be coated in all that fatty oil, which you just don't need. You might be thinking, if oil is so bad for you, why do I have it? Well, the coconut oil, I use it for making lotion and body butter. And the canola oil, I use that about, 4 times a year when I'm baking a birthday cake and I want a special treat. Other than that, oil has no place in my kitchen or in any of my foods. Hopefully you'll make the same switch and make your foods healthier for it as well. Thanks for watching today. Please hit like and please subscribe to my channel to make sure that you keep up on all my plant-based videos. Thanks.